Lake of the Woods in the town of Kenora are a truly special place. Sheer size and beauty at Lake of the Woods can really put you back in your seat. The 32-year-old Kenora Bass International had to be canceled for this year only for safety and sponsor concerns. Because of the hard work of the Kenora Walleye Open crew, a major event was safely offered to anglers in August. The fact that Kenora and Lake of the Woods can either host a world-class bass tournament or a world-class walleye tournament the same month is a true testament to how special this fishery is.
Howdy come through clutch.
Okay, so we're about a week after the Walleye Derby in Kenora, the Kenora Walleye Open. As I've mentioned in other videos and earlier in this one, the Kenora Bass International, like one of the most premier bass tournaments in Canada, had to be canceled this year because of sponsor concerns and all the rules and a whole lot of unknowns. So it was the right call. They canceled it. Everyone was pretty sad about it. It's for sure been the highlight of my summer since I've been fishing it, and it's a big party, and you know, a ton of people show up and fill the tent, and obviously that can't happen this year. So the Kenora Walleye Open, usually scheduled for early July every year, moved into that time slot, and they got 111 teams. JP Kennedy and his crew did a really good job putting it on. It was at Tall Pines Marine, which is a sweet venue to have a tournament, especially with this format and with these crowd restrictions and all that. It's the perfect place to hold one. So thanks to Sport and Leisure and Tall Pines Marine for the venue. It's not the only tournament that's run out of there. There's a lot every year, so pretty grateful to have that. So seems like people are pretty interested in walleye and pretty interested in this tournament. There's not a whole lot on video wise about it, so I'll just kind of run you through how our weekend went. On the first day of the tournament, we started in a pretty high percentage zone. There are quite a few boats around, and we're thinking we could get an easy, like a 27-incher, and boats had covered up a lot of the stuff that we wanted to fish. So we kind of just ended up in a bad rotation. It just wasn't going great. And the deal was, where we were fishing, there were like unders, under 18, nice ones, those did not exist. Most of the fish were in that 19 to 23 inch range, the red zone. So actually at 11 o'clock, we still didn't have a fish in the boat. Not a 12-incher, not a 23-incher, nothing. But we kept fishing because, you know, we were catching a pile of walleye. They were just all in the red zone. You don't realize, you know, until you look, and it's like, oh, we have no fish. So we wheeled onto a spot just to try to get an over in the box. It was a spot that was loaded with mediums in practice and whatever. We got a 24-incher and another like just under 24. So at least we had that out of the way. But in this format, a 24-incher is only worth 4 pounds because it's the catch, record, release. So you take a picture and they just take it an average. It's the same for everybody. So a 24-incher is worth 4 pounds, which is nothing. That's, you know, tail between your legs. Thanks for coming out. But it was nice having over. At least we had a recordable fish. Still had no unders. And then like 1 o'clock rolled around. We had to be in at 3:20, but we still didn't have any fish in the boat. No unders at all, not anything. No weasels, nothing. But we couldn't jam out and go catch unders. We couldn't just go catch a limit, because even if we caught a perfect bag of unders, which would have been 6 pounds, plus our 24-inch 4-pounder, would have put us at 10 pounds, which is horrible. That's not, you're totally putting yourself out of contention. As hard as it is to keep fishing for big ones when you don't have any fish in the boat, we knew that's what we had to do. So around 1:40, I was retying actually, it broke off, and Matt hopped up on the front deck for like 2 seconds, and I heard his drag singing, and yeah, he's got one. So it was this super long battle. We were using light tackle, shallow water, like these fish were cranked up. Got him in, awesome, like perfect, super stressful fight. Probably the most stressful tournament fight I've ever had. And I wasn't even fighting it, I was just standing there with a basket. But anyway, we got it in, 28.5 incher, like perfect. So that's worth 8.5 pounds. We still didn't have a limit, but we had this one, and it's like a beauty, that's the goal. You know, a 28 to 30 inch fish each day. So we never even took another cast on that spot, and it was loaded. There were a bunch of big fish there. You know, we might have fished around a little while, and it takes a long time to fight them too and catch them. So we were happy with 28.5 for day one. If we mixed that with a decent bag of unders, it would put us right up at the top and give us a chance for the next day. So that's what we did. We picked up, went back closer to Kenora. I had a few spots from like 9 or 10 days before that my wife and I found, just kind of fishing around in the evening, and they had really nice unders on it. And we pulled up there and they hadn't moved. We only had about an hour to fish. So we ended up with just over 5.5 pounds for 3 under 18, which is really good. That's a good bag. That was probably, you know, one of the top 25 bag of unders that day, like a good solid limit, especially when you have an 8.5 pounder. So yeah, that was day one. Really a grind, way tougher than we expected, but we did all our damage in the afternoon and it worked out. Day two rolled around. Beauty morning, sun was out now. The wind was gonna blow, I think it had said. We were a little more relaxed. We knew what we had to do. I think we were in 11th place with 1383, which is solid. That's usually you do that 2 days in a row and you win this tournament, but because the lake's been so good and this new format, there are a bunch of big weights. So yeah, that put us in 11th, which was kind of crazy, but we still had a chance to win. First place was only 1580, which is sick. That's a really good bag, but also really hard to repeat. We went big fish swinging first thing. And like 2 minutes in, I caught a 27 incher. So awesome. Like pressure's gone for the day. Yeah, you're gonna fit, you know, with that, couple nice unders, you're for sure gonna finish in the top 10. You're not gonna embarrass yourself in front of the hometown. And yeah, you got all day to hunt big ones. So got that 27. We figured that was about the max for the spot we started on. We just wanted to get that safety fish, which is kind of a weakling thing to do, but you fish so much better, or I fish so much better, and I'm sure Matt does too, when that pressure's lifted. It's nice to just have an enjoyable day instead of just like a panic like the day before. So whatever, we figured it was smart to try to catch a fish in that class, and we did right away. Never took another cast on that spot. Measured it. It's kind of a process for measuring them and making sure all your pictures are good. So measured it. A bunch of boats were around and they saw us measuring. They knew exactly what was going on. So we picked up from there, went to another spot. It was only like 8 in the morning now. So we weren't going to go for unders yet. We wanted a giant one. So we went to another zone with a real low percentage. But we'd caught some really big fish there in practice, but it was super hard to get a bite. It was a different deal altogether. These ones are bait chasers. These are not fish you're gonna catch on a jig and a minnow. Like, you had to get a super reaction bite out of them using big plastic swim baits, which is pretty wild. That's the deal. Learned that from bass fishing. Not super pumped to tell everyone about it, but this tournament's not gonna be in August again, so I don't think this is gonna be a program. But anyway, long story short, we did that for about 3 minutes and I caught a 30 incher, like a giant one. It wasn't a skinny 30 incher. This thing was filled out. It was for sure over 10 pounds. One of the biggest walleyes I've actually ever caught. So anyway, we got that done. And then we just went fishing unders the rest of the day. Because what are you gonna do? It's a 30 incher. There was only one over, maybe 2 over 30 the day before. And it ended up being that day, I think there was only one more over 30. you catch 30-incher, you've already won the lottery. It's so hard to go north of that, that we figured our time would best be spent trying to get the best bag of unders possible. So we did. We went and caught a pile of fish. We used Ned rigs, which are deadly. There's a video here if you don't believe me about how good they are. I used them lots of practice, and just watch the video. We fleeced through a bunch of walleye. I mean, a bunch of them. Honestly, 150 fish in the afternoon at least. That's not counting the 20 or 30 bass. It was just an incredible day. No stress. Fizzed all the fish to keep them alive, all the ones we kept. That worked awesome. There's a new fizzing needle that just made it so much easier. So check that out. I'll link that below. We got a really nice bag of unders. We had 582, which in the zone we were fishing was about as good as you could do. I think the biggest bag of unders that day was 6.07. And that was likely from a totally different part of the lake. So this was the best chance I figured we had. And yeah, we came in feeling okay. There were still 10 teams ahead of us. So, I mean, anyone could have easily had the day we had. So I knew we had a chance to win. We weighed in with our 30-inch 10-pounder and our 582. We had 1582, which at that time was like the biggest bag of the tournament, I think. So it took a while because everyone had to text in their pictures of your overs. So there's at 3 o'clock, all these pictures come flooding into the people running the tournament. And then they have to apply that to your slots that you actually weigh in. And there's no group gatherings or anything, so no one can see what anyone else has. So you're just sitting there hitting refresh on your phone, finding out if you won or not. So whatever, we did that for a bit and then it kind of got old. So we just came back here, had a beer, and I looked through the phone, and the one team I was really worried about was Paul Jansen and Justin Hebert. They've done really well in the past. They were 1 spot ahead of us. I had seen their slot bag, which is good. It was 5.5. So I knew they had it over. The teams at the top of the leaderboard did the classic flop. Some had 4 pounds, some had 8 pounds. It happens every year. Look at the results and you'll see that. So that was standard. Some of the 14-pound teams had other 14-pound bags, so they probably thought they won. I would, going out in the morning, they probably just hope to repeat 14, and historically that would win the tournament every year. But some of those guys got like 4th or 5th. So anyway, we saw that Paul and Juice is his nickname. We saw they won, which I'm fine with. I mean, if you look back in the stats over the last few years, these guys have done really well here. I think they've only been out of the top 10 once, which is super hard to do in a walleye tournament, especially a big one. So, I mean, and their fish, their overs they call, are filled out too. If it was regular format where you brought in your over, they would have beat us by like 1.5 pounds just because theirs would have weighed so much more than they were getting credit for. But that's fine. It worked out for them anyway. So congratulations, guys. We ended up 2nd, which, I mean, whatever. We've all been bridesmaids. It's tough, but it was only Matt and I's first year fishing this tournament, my 2nd year ever. So we were happy with it. When we saw the payout, we were really happy with it. 2nd place paid north of 16 grand by the time everything got factored in. Got another $500 for the top Lund team, which is awesome. Won like a Minn-Kota Altera, and then we got like 12 grand cash. It was just a pile of money. More than I ever expected. They sure pay the top teams here. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. So that was pretty awesome. Cheered us up. Yeah. Thanks everyone for running the Derby, and congrats to all the winners. One other thing I should mention, the team that got 3rd place at 14.25 and 14.98, which are super impressive weights. I hadn't recognized the names before. I finally saw them. I matched the team number to the boat, and they were in a 16-foot Lund Fury, like a 1625 Fury with a 60-horse Merc, which is awesome. Like, that's super cool that they're swinging with all these big Rangers and big Lunds out here, and they're in a 16-footer on this massive body of water, and they're right in the mix, like not only competing but excelling. So we talked to these kids after, and I can call them kids. They're like 19 or 20 or whatever they are. They're from Wawa. They had come here because they saw like Aaron Wiebe and Jay Siemens, their little recaps like I'm doing right now of the tournament, and figured all their walleye derbies were canceled, so they packed up, hauled the 16-footer here, stayed in a screen tent at a provincial park for a week, and just gave her. And they ended up creaming them. They got 10 grand for their efforts, and they showed up a lot of people. So pretty awesome. Congrats, guys. I'm sure they'll be back, and they're probably going to win it one of these years. They've obviously got something figured out that no one around here is doing, if they can catch them that good, in their first week on Lake of the Woods ever. So that's a pretty awesome story, I thought. Tackle wise, some really fancy stuff here. We've got a 1/4 ounce jig. It's an owner 5313 #1 hook on an Erie head. I made that myself, custom painted it like a perch pattern. The reason I did that is because you can't find good walleye jigs. I shouldn't say that, but I haven't found any. They all seem to come with like brutal eagle claw hooks or whatever, like, just really basic hooks in them, and lots of them are long shanks. So I wanted a short shank because we're using leeches on these. And yeah, just made my own. Next thing, and if you haven't already watched the pre-fish video that I linked earlier, check it out. Because otherwise you probably won't believe me how good this thing catches them. This is the Z-Man hula stick. It's a homemade 1/4 ounce football jig. It's got the same #1 owner 5313. Trim down the hula stick a little, no hook keeper, glue it on, that's important. And when you're fleecing through these huge numbers of fish looking for unders, and it will catch big ones too, it's just so efficient. You can just keep firing it back, and you're just crossing their eyes before they even know what's going on. So you get a reaction bite out of them. You miss some, but it drops back down. You never have to readjust your plastic really, and they just mash it again. This thing is a weapon. That's a real life story. The rod's been pretty basic. G Loomis 892. This one's an E6X. These used to be brutal blanks in these when they first came out. They've changed them. These are really nice rods now, especially at the price point. I've got it in NRX too, the same model. It's a little bit nicer, but I use them hand in hand. So it's just like a medium to medium light rod. They load up really nice. They're good for almost every bass and walleye spinning rod application that you could possibly think of up here. So naturally, they're good for this thing. And this is another weapon. This is the 4-inch Z-Man laminate swimmer. It's on a 1/2 ounce homemade swim bait head with a 3/0 hook, 12-pound straight fluorocarbon. This thing is for sure a weapon. This is not your standard, just put your bait in their face and wait kind of walleye fishing. This is 100% reaction bite, and you are 100% hunting big fish when you're doing this. So you're not going to catch a pile of them on it, but you will catch the big ones. And it feels like you're bass fishing. Did the derb with Matt Rydberg of Crawford's Camps this year. He's a great partner. He'd probably scissor kick this GoPro out of my hands right now if he knew I was talking to YouTube about him, but he'll get over it. He's probably already on there. So thanks again to everyone that put this derby on. It was really nice to see everyone again. Bunch of old friends that I only ever see at tournaments. And yeah, really nice. So good weekend. We'll probably fish it again next year. It sounds like it's going to move back to July. And kind of want to win it now. That's a little bit of motivation. Maybe try to up my walleye game a little more in the next year and, hopefully hoist that trophy. But thanks for tuning in.